Should you sell your Philadelphia mainline home in 2026 or should you wait? If you own a home in the Philadelphia mainline right now, there's a good chance you've asked yourself this question recently. Should I sell my home in 2026 or should I wait? Because the housing market has changed a lot over the past few years. Mortgage rates have jumped significantly, inventory has dropped significantly, and many homeowners decided to stay put instead of selling. But despite all that, the mainline market has actually remained surprisingly strong. It is truly in an asset class of its own. In fact, recent data shows that the median home price across the entire main line has increased around 10% year over year. But the real question isn't just whether the market is strong. The real question is, does selling now make sense for your situation and your specific home? In this video, we're going to break this down specifically for the mainline towns like Wayne, Ardmore, Villanova, Bryn Mawr, Haverford, Gladwyne, and Radnor. We'll talk about what the mainline market is actually doing in 2026, why inventory is still very limited, especially in the mainline, and when waiting might make sense, and if selling now could actually be the smarter move for you. And I'll actually show you a strategy many mainline sellers are using right now before going public, where they list first on the private market at their aspirational price. And if you're thinking about selling and want help deciding what makes sense for your situation, this is the right video for you. I'm Peter Stefanatos, an agent with Compass on the main line. I'm actually recording in the Wayne office right now. I've sold quite a few homes on the main line representing buyers or sellers. I'll have those on screen from Gladwyne, Villanova, Bryn Mawr. And actually I live in Villanova, went to Ithan Elementary School, Radnor Middle School, and Radnor High School. But let's get into the video. So the mainline housing market in 2026. One of the biggest misconceptions right now is that the real estate market everywhere is cooling down dramatically. But the reality is the main line behaves very differently from the national market and surrounding suburbs. This area has always had strong demand because of its top-ranked schools, historic homes and neighborhoods, its proximity to Philadelphia, and its strong long-term desirability. Recent housing data, like we said, shows that the median home price across the broader main line has increased roughly 10% year over year when looking at recent months, and this data was pulled from February. That does not mean every home went up exactly that amount, obviously, but it does show that overall prices in the main line have remained resilient despite higher mortgage rates. Some towns have been especially strong. For example, Villanova, Gladwyne, Bryn Mawr, and Haverford continue to see strong demand in luxury markets where buyers are often moving from higher cost living cities or bringing significant equity from previous homes. Wayne and Ardmore remain very competitive because of their walkability, train access, vibrant town centers, and the schools. The big takeaway here is this: the main line market is still very active, but it's also very local. What happens with your home depends heavily on its town, its price point, the condition of your property, and the specific buyer pool for your property at the time. Now, why inventory is still so low? Another reason sellers have leverage right now is low housing supply. Across the country, almost 50% of homeowners refinanced their mortgages when interest rates were extremely low. Many of those homeowners now have mortgage rates around 3 to 4%, even lower than 3%, some of them. Because of that, many people are choosing not to sell unless they absolutely have to. This has created what economists call a lock-in effect, where people are staying in their homes longer, which means fewer homes are hitting the market. And when supply is limited, well-prepared homes tend to attract a lot of attention, especially on the main line, with many homes seeing bidding wars. Actually just came from a property in Devon listed at $3 million. It's just listed on the private market, and I was showing it to one of my buyers, and it's a private market aspirational price home sale, and there was 5 showings the first 2 days. And the agent actually called me this morning and told me that they have a verbal offer, that they're expecting one in writing. It just goes to show you the demand that's out there. And this is a private market launch. It's not even on the public market. So the demand on the main line is still extremely high, even when homes are listed privately. But many buyers have been waiting for the right property in towns like Wayne, Villanova, Ardmore, Bryn Mawr, Haverford, Radnor. When the right home appears in those areas, buyers often move very quickly and aggressively. Now, interest rates and buyer demand. Mortgage rates are obviously a huge factor in today's housing market. A few years ago, buyers were getting mortgages around 3%. Today, mortgage rates have been closer to the mid 6% range. That absolutely affects affordability largely. But something interesting has happened to the main line. Even with higher rates, many buyers are still very active. Why? Because many mainline buyers are some of the strongest buyers in the real estate market, relocating from other expensive areas. They also have high incomes, putting down large down payments, which is very common, or paying all cash, which is also very common. So while higher rates have slowed the market slightly compared to the frenzy in 2021, they have not eliminated demand. In many mainline towns, homes that are priced correctly and presented well still attract strong interest. Now let's talk about the situations where waiting could make sense for you. If mortgage rates drop significantly over the next few years, that could bring more buyers into the market. Lower rates increase affordability, which means more people may start shopping again. But there is a trade-off here. If rates drop, it's very likely that many homeowners who have been waiting also will decide to list their home. That could increase inventory and create more competition between sellers. So while waiting could mean more buyers, it could also mean more houses on the market, which means more competition and less attention on your property. We don't know which way this is going to go, whether buyer demand will continue to well outpace supply, or when rates are cut dramatically, if the market will even out a little bit. But the mainline has always had a supply problem, and if rates begin to fall, buyer demand will likely surge even more. Although lower rates may encourage some additional sellers to enter the market, I believe the increase in buyers will likely outweigh the increase in available homes, pushing supply and demand imbalance even farther. So now let's talk about why selling now could actually be a smart move for you. So for many mainline homeowners, selling now actually has some major advantages. Less competition, because many homeowners are waiting. There are fewer homes for sale right now. That means your home will stand out more. Strong buyer demand. Mainline towns continue to attract buyers who want great schools, suburban lifestyle, access to Philadelphia. Significant equity gains could also be a great reason why moving out now works for you, because many homeowners who have bought 5 or 10 years ago have seen substantial appreciation in their home values. For those sellers downsizing, selling now allows them to capture those gains and be a cash buyer, putting you in a strong position in this tough mortgage rate environment. And that is the #1 seller that I would recommend right now. If you are looking to downsize and your mainline home has appreciated significantly, it's across the board one of the strongest markets to sell if you're not going to be getting another mortgage, because home prices are at all-time highs and mortgage rates are super high. So when, home prices are at all-time highs, of course you want to sell. But if you're going to be a cash buyer, you're not going to be getting a 6% rate on your next home. You'll be an all-cash buyer for your downsizer house. That, in my opinion, is the best situation to be selling right now. And we'll get into a couple more situations. But if you are downsizing and you will not be getting a mortgage on this new home, it is a very strong time to sell. And if you want to talk about your situation, I'll have our contact information on the screen. You can email, call us, even send us a text. We also have a link down below to let us know your situation, see how we can help you. Continuing. Okay, a strategy mainline sellers are using first. Now, let's talk about one strategy that many mainline homeowners are using before listing their homes publicly. I often recommend that sellers start by listing their home on the private market first. Instead of immediately putting your home on Zillow and the public MLS, we can first introduce it to a network of qualified buyers and brokers privately. This approach has several advantages. First, it allows you to test your aspirational price. Sometimes a buyer is willing to pay premium to secure a home before it goes public. Second, it creates exclusivity and scarcity, which makes buyers sometimes move a little bit quicker. And third, it allows sellers to maintain privacy and flexibility while exploring their options. Many sellers on the mainline have successfully sold their homes before ever going public, which gives them more control over the process. No open houses, no sign in the yard, and no days on market on sites like Zillow, Redfin that actively devalue your home if it doesn't sell within the first 2 weeks. I actually recently helped a client where they wanted 1.25 million, and we listed it privately and sold it in under 3 days for over 1.3 million on the private market. So the real question sellers should ask, and instead of asking is 2026 the perfect time to sell, a better question is, does selling now make sense for my life and financial goals? Because you never know what the market is going to do. Some of the most common reasons mainline homeowners sell include downsizing, which is a perfect market for right now, relocating for work, moving closer to family, upgrading to a different type of home that better suits your lifestyle, or simply taking advantage of built-up equity, putting it into a dream home, maybe somewhere else. Maybe you live in the main line and you want to buy a dream home in Chester Springs where the taxes are cheaper, you could buy more land, you get more house for your money. The best time to sell is when your personal goals align with favorable market conditions. And right now, many mainline sellers still have strong conditions working in their favor, especially for downsizing. It's the perfect downsizing market for mainliners. So to conclude, should you sell your mainline home in 2026 or should you wait? Here's the honest answer. There is never a perfect time to sell, but right now we still have limited inventory, strong buyer demand, and home prices have remained resilient across many mainline towns. For many homeowners, that creates a very good opportunity. And if you've even considered selling, one of the smartest things you can do is learning more about the private market. On screen, I'll have some of my recent sales where I represented either buyers or sellers where many of these homes were privately listed. If you want help figuring out what makes the most sense for your situation, either contact us with the information on the screen or click the link below. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow for more insights on the mainline real estate market. It's been Peter Stefanatos with Compass Mainline. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.